everybody, and welcome to our third live session of Life with Liliana. I'm so glad that you guys have made the time to join us. I am super excited for today's session. So, I just want to very quickly, before we jump into this, I can hardly wait, but I just want to speak to those, especially who have never been on a session. Thank you for joining us. And I want to remind everybody what this is about and where this started from. So over the past year, I've been sharing some things that I've learned that have helped me navigate through the season. I really just did it out of, a way to see whether anything that I've learned has helped anybody. I was completely surprised at the feedback. And so I transitioned that from a personal page, created Life with Liliana, and I've put them up there. And so what I've realized in this season, there's a huge opportunity for us to talk more about stuff. So what I've been doing is taking those topics that got the most interest from the videos that I've done already, and then I've opened it up and invited some of my friends. I'm going to be inviting as many friends as I can to just speak into those different topics, to give their perspectives, okay? So my views and my learnings are just my own. And as you know, we have so many people around us that we can learn from. So I'm inviting them into this conversation. So the topic that we're on at the moment is working from home. So we're doing a series, I think it's a 6 or 7 part series. We're on part 3. And today we have the pleasure of having my dear friend Temesia on the call. And look at him, he's just, you look so good to him. Be careful, people might think you're the host. Make sure we write the host, because your setup is just amazing. And it's just amazing.
Thank you. Even yours.
So thank you for making time. So
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And so I want to just very quickly, before we go to Temesia, I want to tell everybody how this gentleman is now my friend, because I'm fighting my friend. So he is actually one of my newest friends. And I'll just tell you like how I first, you know what, Temesia, I remember now seeing you somewhere before open mic night, which I just came to mind. So, I did this modeling show for
Yes.
The Novotel, yes. And so I was getting my hair done. Okay, I was getting my hair done. And then I heard this voice. There was like all of these young models. So we're like kind of the older ones with the, the older version of the clothing. And so I heard this voice come in and go, hi, how are you? How are you? And I was thinking, who on earth is asking how are you? And such, so articulate. And I looked around and I saw you taking photos of people. And I was like, who is this gentleman? Why is he so friendly to everybody? Does he know everybody here? So that is where I first saw you. And so viewers who are watching online, when I saw him again, so I am not that active on Instagram, so I wasn't across the whole celebrity that Temesia is, right? So I'm a little bit, I was a bit behind there. But then he came to church where we had this open mic night. This gentleman stood up and sang a song that he wrote in front of the whole church, right? And can I just tell you something? This was March. Was that March, Temesia?
I believe so. It was before lockdown.
Right. Not only does he have a beautiful voice, not only does he have a strong, articulate voice, which you will hear shortly, but this is what he said. He said, I had this on my list, my one of my goals to do this year. And so I wanted to get it off that list. And, the first thing I thought of was like, geez, it's only March. Can we just calm down? Like goals are for like 12 months. But I guess just those 2 interactions, first of all, just really drew me to you because I saw what's at the modeling place, just your heart. There was like no judgment of anybody, just coming in and really seemed like a genuine, wanting to know how people are doing and not like, yeah, how are you? Yeah, okay, catch up, how we do. But the tone of your voice was very genuine. And then when I heard you at the open mic night, I need this guy to be my friend. And so I actually reached out to Temesia because I have a lot of respect. Then I got to know, to see what he was doing a bit better. I loved what he was creating. I loved seeing and like hearing a bit more about the heart behind things. But not only that, I wanted to develop more in the space of speaking And I felt like Temesia had a lot of qualities that I would like to have. And I wanted, and I've said this to you, Temesia, already, haven't I?
Mm,
I wanted to just mention that to the viewers because oftentimes we are very restricted by who we see around us. And it is not
right.
common for us to reach out and say, you know what, this is an area that I'm trying to develop. Like, can you get
Mm,
alongside me? Or can we have
yeah,
some conversations? And
yeah.
I just thought, okay, with Temesia, what's the worst that can happen? He can say no, and that's fine. Okay, but
Mm,
it's so important, guys, on this journey that we are intentional with who we get alongside, okay, with
mm,
who we are hanging out with. Because if we
yes,
are wanting to change, if we are wanting to step up, we need to have like-minded people around us. So it's
yes.
no excuse. It's no excuse to say, "Oh, I don't know. I've only got my family I grew up with and my cousins. We've got a
Mm,
population of almost 1 million. Look around, step out of your comfort zone, and reach
yeah.
out." Right? So, Temesia, guess what, guys?
Yes.
I know a lot of you know him as an influencer and a fashion designer. Did you know that he is not just a pretty face? Did you guys know that? Did you know that he is an education specialist? Did you know that he is so passionate about it? And this just makes me want to promote him to best friend status. But I'm sure he's
We're
a
best
friend.
friends now. We've made it official online. Everyone knows around the world.
So you know what? I'm just going to let Temesia talk. So thanks again for joining us. Temesia, I just wanted you to, let's just get right into it. Like I said
All
to
right.
you yesterday, unfortunately, we only have 30 minutes. And so let's not hear too much from Liliana. And everyone's heard a lot from me. So to start, I would really love for you to start from the education perspective, because that is what
Yeah.
today's session is about. We've got a lot of kids trying to do their schoolwork from home. We've got
Right.
parents working from home. And so parents are now also expected to be teachers to some extent.
Mm,
Okay. And we are also trying to do our day jobs. And not a lot of us have help. And so we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're trying to do schoolwork and our own work. Okay. So that's the perspective we're going to come at from today. But before we get to some specifics, would you mind sharing with us your journey to choosing education as an area? We'd really love to hear how that came about.
yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Liliana, for having me. I'm so blessed I get to be part of your journey and officially taking on the best friend,
Friends, all right.
best friend certificate tonight. It's so good. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to be with you all and be with Liliana. So a little bit about myself and my journey with education. Wow, I don't even know where to begin. I'm a strong believer of purpose and calling, and I believe that education is my calling. I know a lot of people see me on the social light side with fashion and the arts and innovation and creativity, but my first calling is in education. I studied education in the States, and while I was there, it I wasn't actually majoring in education yet. Because I love fashion so much, the goal was still fashion when I moved overseas.
Right.
6 months into it, I joined an incredible dance company and a ministry in Hawaii called Island Breeze, where I did sing or while they would perform at the luau's in Kailua Kona, at the Marriott down by the pier in Hawaii. And I lived there for 3 years. After performing for about 6 months and singing out on the road, traveling through the Hawaiian Islands, I started to focus again on what my purpose and calling was. But before I
Right.
got there, I was sitting down with a group of friends, and we were just at a Bible study on Maui, at a ranch. And I was sitting there and we were having a night, and I said, Lord, it's kind of my last night. I need to make a decision tomorrow morning. Where am I going with this future? Like, am I going to continue singing and dancing? Or is it fashion or music? Because, like Liliana shared, I love to sing also. So that was one of my
Alexa,
passions
Google
too, is
Chrome
to go
update.
into singing. And then that night, I said, okay, God, if you're not going to speak to me, speak to somebody to tell me. And this random person came up to me and just said, Hi, Temesia. Are you Temesia? And I said, Yes. And he goes, I just saw you standing and children running around you. And I just said, Done. That's it. Education is my calling. The next day, I called into the university and I enrolled for my course into education. And so I minored in illustration and communication. So that goes again with what Liliana was sharing about communication. So the articulation of pronunciation and speaking in public all came from there with illustrating. So I illustrate children's books also, which I'll talk about further down. So the psychosocial support that was done here in Fiji with UNICEF and our government, that was illustrated by me and the rest of our team here in
Wow.
Fiji, private
Wow.
sectors and public. Yeah. And then my major was in education, where I focused on curriculum writing and the pedagogy and the importance of education. And this is one motto we live by is that you're the living curriculum. So you have to become a living curriculum for the children. Yeah, and that
Right.
was my journey. And then I graduated and I decided to move to New York and do fashion in the day and education in the day and fashion at night. And then I sat down again, brought out my sketchbook, and I sketched out the map of Fiji and the Pacific. And I said, yes, Lord, that's where I'm from. That's my cousins all around the Pacific. And I just felt very strongly, Temesia, you're returning to Fiji.
Wow.
And I said, no, 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 no. I think you're mistaken. I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to Zara and H&M and the lifestyle.
yeah.
You're not taking me back.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. Oh,
anyways, I said, Lord, if you're taking me back to Fiji, I will go, but please, my heart's desires. And I put down a 10-year goal. And that
right.
was all done in 3 years, Liliana.
Well, I'm not
God.
surprised if you're ticking off your yearly goals in March. Can you stop it? That is
I love
awesome.
goals.
That's a great. That is such a great story. I love that. And I just
Oh, thank
love
you.
your heart of
Mm,
obedience as well.
right,
You've spoken about your faith. And for those
mm,
of us or followers of Christ, we know that
right.
obedience is key. When it does
Yeah,
not make sense, we step out and do it anyway. And
doesn't make
so
sense.
that's right. And so you're back here now. I know that you
Yes,
are teaching at a
yes,
small private school in Tamavua.
yes.
So I'm interested to know, and there's a lot of parents that
Mhm,
are on at the moment. There's a very small part of the population that can
yeah,
afford to put their kids in private school. So those who
yeah.
do have their kids in private school are very fortunate to have access to
Very,
teachers like
very.
yourself. Um,
Mm,
I know teachers, there are many great teachers, but not only
yes.
that, those that are able to continue schooling during this time. So, what are the challenges that you have found? Like, what have you had to adjust personally and
Yes,
professionally in this time? Because
right.
now you're at home, right? You're not there
Yes.
with the kids, and to make sure that
No.
what has it been like for you as a teacher?
Um, when it all happened all of a sudden for the second time, Liliana, it was a shock. The first
Right,
time it was okay. It was exciting because it was something we never went through before. So we were
right,
excited to jump
right,
online and introduce children to technology. But even though I do work at a private school, we also have Mobile Kindy, which is a nonprofit organization where we provide education to disadvantaged communities. So that means no electricity, no television, no internet. Yes, the parents do have smartphones, but how much data can they take for their children on a daily basis?
of
So we
course.
had to balance the two. Honestly, for me and my team, I had to tell my team just pause. We had a 1 week just to stop and
Right,
honestly find
right.
ourselves. Where are we in all of this? What
Yes,
what what is our purpose now? What do we do? I didn't want to just jump into it and deal with all the stress and all the confusion and the communication. And we just sat down, a team, everyone in their homes, and we just planned and we thought, okay, we need to find ourselves, make sure our home is okay first, get our
yes,
family together before we can even help another family. So we
yes,
took a week to
yes,
really process. And as much as it was going chaotic around the world, our parents were messaging and emailing, when is school
yes,
going to start? What's happening? I just had to let them know, very humility. Listen, I do not know. And this is something we learned with Change the World Model United Nations that I'm a part of as a student
right.
in diplomacy, is that using the I don't know method, just saying,
Wow.
I don't know. How incredible is that?
Right.
When I heard that a few weeks
Yes.
ago, it just gave me such assurance to be okay with the situation and just find a way. But it won't be in an hour, it won't be in a second, it might be tomorrow. But just to know that that is our goal. But as of
Yes.
now, we don't know. And so
Wow.
we had time to think. We had time to regroup, replan, and strategize. Then we
Right.
jumped online. And one thing as an educator, a teacher's role is very important
Yes.
in a student's life. Huh?
Mm.
But as we've gone into this pandemic, one thing that educators globally are starting to talk about is a holistic approach to
Right.
education that
Okay.
addresses student learning, social and emotional needs. It's so
Right.
crucial at this moment,
Right.
especially in times of crisis. You know,
Yes.
school closures related to the current COVID-19 pandemic mean that students from diverse backgrounds who are more at risk of increased vulnerability are less likely to receive the
Yes.
support and extra services they need. And
Yes.
you know that shakes you because you're not there. And one
Absolutely.
thing I've never ever had to do in my education experience is have a child policy for online learning, making
Wow.
sure that the children are safe online, even though they're with me online, that their
Wow.
homes are also safe. If I see any turned furniture behind them, if my other educators see anything unusual in their environment, we have to report it. It's
Right.
important. And
Right.
so, you know, those things started coming up. Um, Posting children's photos on social media, which we do not allow. You know, it's a bigger concern, and parents coming from different values, different backgrounds. Those that don't mind having their children posted. Parents that mind their parents being posted,
Right.
children being posted. Then we also had to talk about the psychological side, where a lot of parents, you know, we have to train our teachers in their professional development stages that you have to keep in mind that some parents have had bad experiences with educators and with
Oh,
schools. So their feedback or the way they interact to communicate with you is not personal. Do not take it personal if they shut down or if they
yes.
rush at you with anger or with anything really, but to pause and remember maybe that parent had a bad situation in school. And so we have to learn how to
Yes.
communicate to that parent because maybe that parent had the worst teacher growing up and they've
I
had the struggle
know.
communicating with their child to the teacher. And so they become distant. And so we've had to let them know, listen, mom, dad, or caregivers in the house, you play a role with teacher now. It's me, you, and your
Yes.
child. It's a teamwork. And so
Right.
it's been interesting rolling
No.
that out. And we've seen parents pull through. We've seen, so as much as
Wow.
we are working with the children, we're working with the parents too. But it definitely
Yes.
takes a village to raise a child.
It does. You know, there's so much in what you just said,
Mm.
and it almost like I
Oh,
feel like
thank
it
you.
warrants a separate session for us to talk
Yeah.
about. Like I'm
Yeah.
still stuck on
Yes.
understanding that children might not be in a safe place, and I really don't want to
Yeah.
talk about that anymore right now because I feel like I'm going to
Yes.
burst into tears. But that's the
It is. It's
reality that
overwhelming.
and
Yeah.
to think that some children might have been coming to school to get away from situations that
Yes.
were not so good at home. And
Exactly.
so, as a teacher, having to deal with all of that.
Mm,
And a lot of teachers also have their own families at home and
yes,
their own children that they might be homeschooling as well. And so
yes,
I really like that you said you took a break because
yes.
you're so true. We cannot give what we don't have. If the teachers are
Exactly.
not okay, how can they make sure their kids are okay? And so
Exactly.
that's so important. And the I
Mm,
don't know to me just isn't it amazing that something so honest and genuine like I don't know all of a
yeah.
sudden becomes something so
Mhm.
phenomenal.
Exactly.
You don't know the answer, so just say I don't know.
I
But
don't
we
know.
hardly do that. Like you said,
Mm,
it makes us we have to find humility in ourselves to be able to see
yes.
that. And then parents would rather hear and I don't know than a whole roundabout answer that
Oh
really
my
means I
goodness.
don't know.
Exactly. So what do you
Yeah.
mean? School is starting or no? What are you
Yes,
saying?
just say it. And even if you say no and I don't know, you might get a little bit of, flack, but you've been honest
Exactly.
and genuine. Like you
Yes.
don't need to hide under anything around that.
No.
So I really love that part. Thank you. I
Mm,
just want to just turn a little bit. Now we're talking about kids being at home and you mentioned
yes.
holistic view
Yes.
because you're right. Education is not just maths and English.
No. Yeah.
Education is a whole learning journey, and all of us are
Yes.
still learning, no matter how old we are. So,
Yes.
if we think about those students that do not have access to online
Yes.
learning right now, or minimal,
Yes.
and for those who have parents at home, what do you think are some things that we can do with our kids that
Yes.
will help that educational journey? And please don't say maths, because first of all, I don't like doing maths. Do not tell me to do maths with my son. And also, can I just say the maths now is like really difficult. My son is only
Oh
in
my
grade six,
goodness.
and I'm like, really? Were we doing obtuse angles at this age? But what are some other things,
Right.
Temesia? Because I
Yes.
don't want us to miss this opportunity that we have with our children. What can we do?
Um, so definitely the first thing that we do let the parents know, especially when they're home with their children,
Right.
is to be present. It's
Right.
important to be present.
Okay.
I know you may be sitting down having the book open and you're scrolling through your phone. You said, "Okay, you read and I will guide you from this side.
Yeah.
You
I
continue
listen.
reading."
I'm listening. Right.
And so it's important to be present.
Okay.
So when you're being present with your children, make a schedule, get a schedule done, and put in also your me time. Parents also need their me time, and the children need to have clear communication. Listen, mommy, daddy's me time is from 6 p.m. to say 9 p.m. Okay, mommy and
Right.
daddy are going to do their own thing. You need to find something to keep yourself busy. Either you work on your blocks that we bought you, or you do your painting. All the things are on that corner.
Yeah.
And also it's important to have boundaries. So,
Right.
sometimes you notice, you hear your child or your children go, they're bothering, or they keep testing you. They keep testing you like, this child, I honestly, just yesterday, I told him, do not boil the hot water all the way to the top because it's going to spill over and we're going to have a power surge cut or something like that. So this is the psychological side to it. Your
Yes.
child is
Yes.
seeking for attention. It's not really the boiling
Right.
water. Your child
Right.
is seeking for some attention. So
Right.
that's a sign your child is waiting for you to react and know,
Right.
mom loves me. She's paying attention. She loves me. So
Right.
it's important to have those boundaries written out. Whether you and your family put it on the fridge, put it on their bedroom door, and just say, listen, this is our schedule, this is what we're going to follow. When children are able to have something to reflect on and rely on, and to know, okay, this is what we do on Monday to Friday,
I
Saturday and
see.
Sundays like this, mom and dad do this, they're busy on these days, don't disturb them. They're able
Yes.
to know, wow, look, mom and dad have put me into their schedule, um instead of having to shuffle a whole day together, and you're just like, oh,
See.
why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. I'm trying to work online. And so they know now, when mom and dad are
Yes.
working online, you're doing your own work. So it's important to also have their learning space. If your
Yes.
child doesn't have if your child doesn't have access to online learning, please, it is crucial to set up their own space. It's called spatial awareness. And that
Right.
also is another that's just a surface topic when we talk about spatial awareness for children. The deeper value of spatial awareness is children are able to know what belongs to them and at what time it belongs to them, so that
Uh,
people around them, especially caregivers and people at home, do not overstep and
right.
overstep that boundary, because that's when children don't know the difference between, this is my body, that's your body, don't touch.
Of
And so when
course.
you have that spatial awareness, they're able to take that concrete perspective of having their own learning space to an abstract, knowing that no, 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 this is my body. So
I
to
see.
resolve issues where we have, families and rape
Yes.
cases or molestation in the
Yes.
home, that's how you teach your child spatial awareness from a
Right.
young age. Yeah. So definitely do those. Just the last two, integration.
Right.
Integrate their learning into your daily routine. Do not create a whole nother routine for your family, because it's
Okay.
COVID is going to go away after this.
Yes.
Everything's going back to normal. So do not go changing everything just because of COVID and just
Okay.
because your child is at home. Integrate it into your daily schedule,
Right.
and make it a part of every day. If you're doing math or language, don't put it aside where you have to, okay, let's learn English now. A is for
Yes.
apple. B is for, no. When you're
Right.
going to the
Okay.
market,
Okay.
yeah, when you're going to the market and you're like, yes, that's mother. Mother is a special leaf. It's actually a Fijian spinach. when you're going to the supermarket. Oh, look at that. You actually don't hear the E in a certain word, or you can start teaching vowels or nouns when you're moving around, reading the road signs. You're introducing their, because when they grow up, they're not going to be learning English that way, right? They're going to be out in the
Yes.
giving back
Yes.
to their community, being
Oh my
leaders.
goodness.
So educate
Yes.
with what is
Yes.
happening today. And the last one is OCDI, which is order, discipline, consistency, and independence. Your
Right.
child needs to be independent when they're learning.
Right.
Always make sure that when you're teaching them, that you're letting them know, listen, I won't be here all the time. You need to do this on your own. So start learning these things. The
Right.
discipline, having a schedule. I know your classes are not normal like before, but you have your worksheets. This is your schedule. Keep
Right.
that. Consistency. Do not change your discipline habits at home. They will start testing boundaries again. And you all the way back to step one with the kettle and leaving the door open and watching TV in the middle of the night, switching on the Wi-Fi at 2 a.m. Things happen. And so that's where the O comes in,
I
order.
see. But Temesia, you have no idea how valuable this information is. And I'm looking
Oh,
at the chat. The chat is going off. Like
oh,
the parents,
yay! That's
you know,
incredible.
I feel like you are complete. You are just educating parents right now. You should be like an
Yes,
adult
that was
educator.
my key.
Yes,
I'm so
that is
glad
so
to hear that.
valuable. You know, and
Mm,
what I'm really hearing emerge from this is
yes,
like us as parents really need to change our mindset on this whole
yes,
way we view education,
yes,
because we have been brought up to also
yes,
separate the two, right? Okay,
yes,
education is for teachers, please look after the child. That's what we're here
exactly.
for. And this is us
Mm,
here. But I really love that you've pointed out that education, not only is it a journey, but there is teaching moments in everything. You know, quite
everything.
often when we're going in the car, and then I have to confess, I've done this before. Mom, what is that sign for? What are the things on the road for? Well, they just Google. Just man, I rebuke that Google sometimes. But now, when you're telling me,
Oh,
those are
mm,
precious moments that we
yes,
can
those
use
are-
to teach our children. And at this
mm,
time, for those of us
yes,
that do not have children in school, let's
yes,
change the way we approach
yes.
education. We
Sorry,
have
Liliana, can I just add one more thing? I'm so sorry.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I strongly believe in the science behind brain development and early childhood
Right,
education. If you're out
right.
there and your child is from 0 to 3, we call that 1,000 days, which is very important in your child's life. That is irre- irreversible. You cannot reverse what happens at that stage.
Okay.
So if you're expecting your child to be a pilot or an accountant or whatever job that requires the brain to be at its best peak, please make sure you feed your children right at that
Wow.
stage. Because
Wow.
once you do a mistake or you don't feed them well at that stage and you're feeding them bongo and other things, your child will start to stunt. The brain will not grow to its potential. And when you bring them in for kindergarten, they're not able to grasp concepts right away because their foundation has not been dealt with properly. So please,
I
if you're a parent
see.
out there and they say, no, my child doesn't eat that. We only give them nuggets and fries. Change that today.
Right, right.
Okay, because you're going to be paying a lot of money in the future when you have to pay for an extra tutor from a private school to teach
Really?
your child. If you
Right.
start now, you won't have to spend any money for extra curriculums for your child.
Oh
Um,
man, that is so good.
so I just
I'm
want to put
glad
that.
you added that. I'm so glad you added that.
Mm.
My children are both older than 3. Is it like too late?
Oh
Can I?
no,
Can
you keep at it. You keep at it. Toughen them. Toughen them. The Pacific way.
Then we've come to the end. We have only
Wow,
got a couple more minutes. Yes, right. We always have so much fun
I
on these
love this.
sessions.
But
But
I
I
love
just
how. Yeah, it's good.
I want to just end with this. Like, we
Mm.
haven't gone into any of your fashion stuff yet. I know
Yeah.
you are launching an online
Yes.
store. It's going to be
Right.
amazing. So if you guys are
Yeah.
not following Temesia
Mm.
yet, he's on Instagram, he's on Facebook. Just look for
Mm.
Temesia. You'll see temesia.traveler, right?
Yes.
And temesia.co. Is that right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
And so you
Right.
will find that. Okay, I need to learn that these should go at the bottom of the screen. And next one, everybody. Liliana's getting there.
Lovely.
But before we leave,
Mm.
I wanted to ask whether you could share something on self-care, because you obviously have so much that you're doing, Temesia. And you're still so full of energy. And
Oh,
so,
thank you.
like you said, you need to be okay. We've talked about
Mm.
this to be able to just pour out to others. And so
Yes.
you are an educator, and I've told you yesterday you are also a creator. So I'm like,
Thank
Temesia,
you.
you are an
Yeah.
educator and creator. I love it. So please share with us, what do you do? What are some things that we might be able to learn from in terms of
Yeah,
looking after yourself?
definitely. For myself, coming from the Pacific, it can be hard to say no, right? So
Right.
it's okay to say no. When you
Oh, so
can't do
good.
something, say no. I know
Yes.
it's hard to be selfish and put
Yes.
yourself out there and just say, listen, I can't do that. It's a no for me. It's okay. It's okay to say no. And I know this slowly creeps into the Pacific, especially us here in Fiji, is that false responsibility where it's like,
Right.
no, 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 that's your responsibility. But your responsibility first is yourself. You can't help other people if you cannot help yourself. I
So
personally shut down. I literally say no, and I take a day and I just do nothing but help myself, whether it's watching movies all day, whether it's sleeping, whether it's opening up a book or my Bible for the day, or just really soaking in some me time. Me time is
yeah.
so key. And also put that into your weekly schedule if you don't
Right.
have it. Put it at night, an hour before you go to bed, 1 hour before you start your day. Late at maybe a Saturday where you just literally go off grid and you
Yeah.
just be selfish for one day and just enjoy yourself for that moment. And be
Yes.
greedy. It's okay to be greedy for yourself. Just enjoy
Yeah.
your day. It's incredibly
Oh,
hard.
love
Take
it.
time to breathe. I know there's a lot of parents out there that cannot breathe right now because their children, they're working at home, their children are at home, everybody's at home. But find that alone space, whether it's in your bedroom, whether it's outside, whether it's at the back of the house, wherever it is. Just set it
Yeah.
up with a chair, sit down and breathe and just
Yeah.
soak in that goodness for that time you have.
That is amazing. So useful. You know what, Temesia? You have given us life today.
Oh, thank
Absolutely.
you.
So many of us. And thank you so much. You know what? We need to talk about you doing some shorter sessions, maybe doing
Right.
some teaching videos. I mean, it doesn't have to be under Life with Liliana, but really the stuff that you are saying is
Oh, thank
so,
you.
it feels like common sense. But
Yes.
I know I speak for so many others, and you have given us so much value today. So
Oh, I appreciate
thank you
it.
for making time.
You're
And
not
I hate
wrong.
that this conversation has to end,
I
but
know, but I love it. I don't know. It's like bittersweet.
I know. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Wasn't that just awesome? And please, you know what? If you have friends that didn't make it, share with them. Share with them the page. It'll be on the page for them to see. But next week we also have another live session, and you again will just get so much for it. So please don't come alone. Bring your friends. Let's just talk to the rest of our friends, get different perspectives, and see what we can do. Empower ourselves with information and the tools so that we can thrive in this season. Nobody needs to be surviving, just surviving in this season. I don't like that word. We are thriving in this season. And so that's why we are looking at these different perspectives, and that's why this platform exists. So thank you, everybody, for your time. You guys enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we will see you next week. Same place, same time. See you all then. Thanks, Temesia.
You're not